Lately, there's been an entire wave of JRE hate. Let's watch another installment of this psyop. The Joe Rogan Experience has officially hit rock bottom. Oh no, is Joe Rogan falling off? How will he ever recover?
Find just the right balance, because there's nothing really challenging you, because you don't have any real problems, and you're not on the earth. You're not standing on the earth anymore. You're in a bubble where you sort of like, maybe I'll try this, and maybe I'll just do protein now, and I'll do, you know what I mean? It's
actual jester, comic genius. And what did he do? He asked if he could goon in front of women.
And you'll never find a balance, because that's not a normal life. That's not organic living. That's not living like a human.
The ethical gooner? I don't know about that. That is some real turbo behavior.
Being, you know.
Joe Rogan's podcast seems to have only gotten worse this year, as every time a new episode drops, it becomes increasingly clear that Joe has drifted into wacko territory. No longer is Joe Rogan the relatable stoner that talks about the four-dimensional beings he encountered on
I don't think Joe Rogan was ever relatable.
DMT. Nowadays, Joe's morphed into this almost grumpy variation of a boomer that no longer talks with his guests, but at them. Usually,
Bro is a stand-up comedian, Fear Factor host, UFC commentator, multi-millionaire. Where's the relatability?
about the same 4 or 5 political points stuck on a loop. Like, no matter what kind of guest he has on, Joe will inevitably end up talking about either COVID-19, how California has turned into a godforsaken wasteland.
He's just a chill guy with hundreds of millions of doubloons.
How great Austin, Texas is, or he'll just go on a conservative glazing session. And it's gotten so bad now that longtime fans of the show have stopped listening to most episodes. Joe Rogan's peers have also become more comfortable calling him out on
I don't even think Joe Rogan is conservative. Just because you don't like the left doesn't mean you're automatically on the right. There's a famous tweet about this, where if I say I don't like pancakes, that doesn't mean I love waffles.
public platforms recently, as we just saw veteran comedians like Bill Burr and Mark Maron do on 2 huge podcasts last week.
You know, there's certain podcasts out there that if you're a racist, if you're an anti-Semite and you want a softball interview, there's podcasts out there where you can, and they will laugh at your fucking bad jokes.
The thing with Joe is I don't know that we have a lot to talk about because of my idea of what he's done to comedy.
Sure.
And I don't think it's great.
But to be fair, Mark Maron has been Joe Rogan's biggest hater since the early 90s. And ever since 2021, we haven't seen
many such cases. Joe Rogan's got ops here at Third Eye Global. We're too likable. We don't have any enemies. 0 foes.
Bill Burr on Joe Rogan's podcast. So these guys calling Joe out doesn't really come as a surprise to most people. A better indicator of how far gone Joe truly has become is when his closest friends call him out on his own show. Almost as if they're trying to show
Yet. Huge yet.
Joe Rogan the light. Like when Joey Diaz snapped at Joe Rogan for talking about things that truly shouldn't matter to either of them.
Have you seen any of that stuff on Japan? Mm-mm. See if you can find anything on the Japanese population crisis. They're having so few children in Japan that, like, in 3 generations, they could be in real trouble.
Ask you a question?
Yeah.
What the fuck's it got to do with me? I don't give a fuck about the Japs. What the fuck is wrong with you, Joe?
Well, I think about it with us. Because I think about it with, like, civilizations collapsing. I think about it what we've been talking about the whole day.
Yeah, but we don't have to worry about that.
I know. We don't have to worry about it. You're right.
This is the first podcast I'm done that I'm scared. You know what I'm saying? What the is wrong with you?
You're right.
Enough with this shit.
Imagine Joe actually caring about Joey Diaz's opinion. So Joe is going downhill because Joey Diaz is a dumbass. I just don't understand. Like, the Joe Rogan Experience exists as a forum. It is an agora. It is a marketplace of ideas. He has proved himself to be an expert conversationalist, and he wants to talk about problems happening globally. Comedian Joe Rogan is just a sliver of his entire personality. And it's not even an impressive part of it.
You're right.
And politics, enough.
I know.
COVID is over.
This clip happened around 3 months ago. And if Joe had listened to
Joey Diaz, the guy who brags about getting women to do sexual favors for him so that he can put them on? That Joey Diaz?
Diaz's advice, even in the slightest back then, I wouldn't be making this video. So, as you may have guessed, Joe did not listen. And in the past 3 weeks or so, I feel as if he's become the most out-of-touch version of himself to date. And he's now bending reality based on his own personal relationships. Like on episode 2352 with James Tallarico, when Joe disagreed with his guest about Nick Fuentes being a Holocaust denier, insisting that denying the Holocaust and debating the numbers of the Holocaust are two very different things.
Research on this to learn about it, but there's been a lot of stories about these two billionaires and their control over state government. And I say this because...
But a big part of the Daily Wire is Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro's very Jewish.
Well, and these two billionaires hosted a
Aren't those different things?
a meeting with Nick Fuentes, who is a Holocaust denier, and
He's
got a lot of
Holocaust
pushback.
denier?
Nick Fuentes?
He's a denier,
Yes.
or does he debate the numbers?
Well,
Is that
to be
what-
fair, I don't listen to a lot of Nick Fuentes, which is on me. But
Who funds it? Duo serves. Yep.
Pretty odd thing to push back on, Joe. Especially since Joe doesn't push back in the very slightest when he has people on his podcast who people actually want answers from. Like the sitting president, the vice president, and of course the...
I think the reality here is that there's just levels to this shit, and certain guests just have inherent red tape around them. I'm gonna be honest. If I was interviewing J.D. Vance, I would love to talk to him about Palantir and Peter Thiel. I just don't even know if I'll be allowed to. There's probably a Matrix agent with a Bluetooth headset from 2004 looking like Agent Smith staring at me the entire time.
current director of the FBI, who, if you don't know by now, was sitting 4 feet away from Joe Rogan when Elon Musk publicly accused Trump of being on the Epstein list. To which the FBI...
Joe did a good job questioning the FBI director. He said everything but, where the fuck are the files? Yeah, he kind of made Kash Patel look inept.
director just conveniently skated on...
Sorry, James Donald Bowman. For those of you who don't know, that is J.D. Vance's alias.
over.
Since we were talking about fake news, this is going to come up because it's been going on since we've been recording here. Elon and Trump seem to be in a bit of a spat, Joe. You want to check the tweet that Elon just put out a little bit ago?
Time to drop the really big bomb. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real...
I'll have a red dot on my third eye at all times during that interview. So true. Philion, did you change your third eye? Why is it glowing red? I don't know, because there's an M4 suppressed pointing at my head.
reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day. Jesus Christ.
I'm not participating in any of that conversation
What is
between
he?
Elon
Have a
and Trump.
nice day, DJT. Someone should take his phone away.
They're going back and forth about different things. And
Yeah.
How does he know? Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump Elon thing. That's way outside
What
my
the
lane.
fuck are they
That's,
doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
I just don't. I mean,
Wow, not a peep from Joseph. But you know, when Nick Fuentes is being accused of being a Holocaust denier, then Joe's gotta step in. And then to make his listeners even more annoyed with that situation, Joe actually talked about this encounter with Kash Patel only a few weeks ago on his podcast with Danny Jones, where he scoffed at the idea of actually pushing back at the FBI guy about Epstein.
you know, you got the director of the FBI on this show saying there's no... if
I
there,
mean, I think it's healthy to be skeptical of what people say with charged language. All Joe is doing is being like, are you sure about that? Because those are big words.
was nothing you're looking for is on those tapes. Like, what? Why did they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit? Why did they say that?
Right.
Didn't Pam Bondi say that?
What, are you talking about Epstein or Diddy?
Yeah, Epstein.
Epstein. Yeah, she said it literally, I think, a week before you had the FBI director sitting here telling you there was nothing, right?
She said something about that there was like thousands
Yes.
of hours of tapes of people doing horrible crimes.
There is. And didn't the FBI dude say that there was nothing?
Kash Patel said there's nothing you're looking for. Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to push.
Apparently, Joe Rogan hits rock bottom every 2 months. Yeah, except his rock bottom is grass-fed, grass-finished elk meat and kettlebell workouts in his compound before he makes $4 billion off of one ad plug. Yeah, his rock bottom is $200 million in a ranch.
Right. No,
I
of
mean,
course.
and
I
obviously,
understand.
he's saying what he has to say.
Right.
So this is what I'm talking about when I say that longtime listeners have been really fed up with Rogan recently. Joe has 24 million listeners every week, yet refuses to practice any type of good interviewing when he has guests on that people really want answers from. So it's crystal clear that he has a political bias on his show, because he obviously only gives softball interviews to...
Notice how he only has a political bias now, but when he was literally repping liberal politics for his entire career, he didn't get any of this.
people that he aligns with. But at least Joe Rogan platforms actual politicians and scientists that are professionals in the field that they're talking about. What's even more annoying than Joe not pushing back is when Joe decides to talk politics all by himself. Because he doesn't really fact-check anything he has to say. And when he goes on these long political spiels, it's almost like you can feel Jamie on the edge of his seat just itching to turn on his mic. But he doesn't in order to keep his job.
We're in this complete shifting of the polls where the Republicans now are in favor of free speech. The Republicans want to end the war.
Do you think Joe Rogan got one-shotted by the tech right? Did he get teal bucks?
They want to stop contributing to foreign countries. They want comedy to be comedy again. They don't want restrictions on people's behavior and thinking.
Yeah.
And the Democrats have developed this.
Just saying though, all major company CEOs also went right-wing. Or were they always right-wing? Or are they not even political? They're just after power.
Sort of like cult-like idea of what everyone should accept and what's normal and what's not normal and what needs to be elevated in our population and what needs to be ignored. And it's just like,
it's kind of insane of Joe to still push the idea that Republicans are anti-war and pro-free speech at this point. Like, come on, Joe. Even if you ignore the massive increases to the military budget, the push to start a war...
He probably got one-shotted when Kamala wouldn't do the interview. I mean, that would piss me off too. Why is one side willing to talk and the other one's not?
Or with Iran and deporting...
Dude, all of this is so stupid. Remember when Elon Musk was Reddit's #1 god? He was literally worshipped by them.
Students from speaking out, you'll still find plenty of evidence showing they're pro-war and pro-censorship. A lot of people actually think that Joe was saying this on purpose. Like, people believe that Joe is probably aware of everything that I just listed, but subconsciously ignores it because if he didn't, it could threaten his new life in Austin. He knows what side he's on, but funnily enough, still thinks he's in the center when it comes to politics, which he says about 5 seconds later in this very podcast.
God damn, you're ruining it for everybody that thinks in a left way. Like anybody who's reasonable, like a reasonable left-thinking person, which is most artists, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
And then you get to this point where you're like, no, I can't go along with you on all these things.
Yeah.
You guys you're just a bunch of fucking assholes who are using these subjects as
I think Joe Rogan is similar to most people of his age demographic, because I've observed this in real time. If you talk to, say, Gen X or boomers, and you bring up something like trans women in sports, like, they'll do their best to try to understand it, but there's a limit to this entire conversation where it just falls off a cliff and it can't compute in their brains. So when Joe Rogan, who is athletically inclined and works in a sports sector, in a professional level, he's not going to be on board with it. And you could just draw that parameter with all these other talking points and see how it just gets dismembered, especially combat sports.
Way where you can behave incredibly shitty, incredibly uncharitable, like vicious, mean, ostracizing people from society. I don't want any part of you. I don't want any part of the way you guys think and behave. And you to pretend that you're doing it for good, you're gluing yourself to the wall for climate change. The fuck you are.
Yeah.
You're just a nut. You're just a crazy, entitled nut.
He changed a lot during COVID because the power structure went after him. Yeah, I mean, they made him look yellow and made him sound like the craziest man on the planet for exploring alternative medicines.
And you're fucking up society.
Yeah.
This is not the way that people should be behaving. And I can't believe it makes people go to the other. And the Republicans are smarter about it now in this day and age, because they're like, hey, we'll take you in. Hey, it's fine. Come over to us. You could say whatever you want. Comedy's back. You know?
It's a big ebb and flow to me. It's like some weird natural balance of like things shift a little bit to the left, things shift a little bit to the right.
But we got to hold the center. The center.
So yeah, just way too much political jargon from a guy who used to talk about grizzly bears, bow hunting, and the ancient Egyptians'
Hasn't he always had a political side?
knowledge of the pineal gland. And again, most people wouldn't mind Joe talking politics if he went about it in a level-headed way.
Which means a leftist's approach. This is so biased.
But it's almost like he's pandering to one side, like he sold out, if you will. But in my opinion, the political grifting...
How did he sell out? He's 100 millionaire. So people say I sold out. Where are my bags? Please, where's my teal bucks?
Joe's done recently isn't even his worst offense. Joe's most despicable behavior can actually be observed when legitimate, reputable scientists go on the show and disagree with
He's still not over the COVID situation, which is crazy in 2025. At some point, you got to move on, in my opinion. And that point was like 2 years ago. Yeah, I mean, COVID was what? Almost 6 years ago now? To be honest, I kind of got one-shotted by it too. I feel like there was a fucking time skip. It feels like some formative years were stolen from me.
Any of Joe's various conspiracy theories. Like Joe's handling of the Flint-Dibble-Graham Hancock debate was just atrocious. Because even though Flint provided real evidence to back his claims, since he's an actual archaeologist who's been to the sites that Graham and Joe talk about, Joe and pseudo-archaeologist Graham Hancock just bullied and interrupted their way through the podcast.
It made me get fat too. Truly.
And after that show, believe it or not, Joe actually made fun of Flint Dibble for having cancer.
The Flint Dibble approach. That guy embodies what you don't like about academia. You see him physically, he embodies it. It's like that's what it is. It's these weak men, these weird, kind of bitchy, weak men.
Hey there, Joe. I just found out yesterday that
Yo, this is cooked.
You ridiculed my appearance in front of millions of people on your podcast. Here I am. I have had, for the last, 6 hours in the hospital to consider this while I get treated for my stage 4 cancer with an infusion. You know that I've been fighting cancer for the last 4 years. You've mentioned it to millions of people on your podcast.
What a little man Joe Rogan truly is. And if you haven't watched the whole expose video Flint Dibble put out about Rogan...
Is there a lesson in there?
I put the link in the description.
I don't know this archaeological beef, okay? I don't know Indiana Jones like that. It seems to be deeper. It's not on my pay grade yet.
Down below, and I highly recommend you guys give that a view because he tore Rogan to shreds, and it really puts Joe in a light that you may have never seen before.
Joe Rogan, you're a coward who calls a cancer fighter weak.
And mind you, all this stuff about Joe happened in the last 4 or 5 months or so, which is why I think that Joe Rogan is actually at rock bottom right now. Because it's not like any of this is new, you know? But it's become much worse recently. And people speculate that this version of Joe Rogan sprouted all the way back during the COVID-19
He looks like a fucking fell orc here, bro. It looks like he's about to walk through the dark portal.
Pandemic, when Rogan sparked backlash by stating on his podcast that healthy young people don't need a COVID-19 vaccine.
But if you're like 21 years old and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Yeah. Are you healthy? If you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, I don't think you need to worry about this.
And after saying this, you guys might know that he was immediately criticized by Dr. Fauci, White House officials.
Dr. Fauci, give me vaccines. We wish you a Fauci science. We wish you a Fauci science and a booster this year.
And huge media outlets.
What's in my arm, bro? What the fuck is in my arm, dude? Listen, I live in New York. They were 30 seconds away from strapping me down and injecting it themselves. That's how strict it was here. You couldn't go into any fucking restaurant, any establishment. You were literally ostracized, okay? I bent the knee. God! I just want to know what's in my arm.
Make things even worse, Rogan contracted the COVID-19 virus that September and detailed in a video
I'm fucking vaxxed 9 times over, dude.
what he was using to combat.
I have my little vaccine passport, as you can see right here. There's probably a fucking zillion timer on my life, bro. Just a bomb waiting to explode above my head. So cooked. And it just, listen, a lot of my friends died very young. Not from that, but the fragility of life combined with health anxiety that I got from that trauma. Dude, if I get a headache, I swear to God, I think I'm dying. And it just doesn't help. It just doesn't help that I don't know what's in my arm.
The virus, which included the infamous horse dewormer medicine ivermectin.
And turns out I got COVID. We immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
So Joe Rogan was lambasted in the media.
How many healthy 20-year-olds in the USA? What do you think? More than 10? Oof. Yeah, I'd like to look at the numbers. The thing about health in general, though, is some of these slugs are just anti-fragile. Whereas me, the pinnacle of health and beauty, it's just like, you know, if I eat a seed oil sandwich, like I'm out for the count. Brian Johnson speaks of this.
For this, as according to the media, he was affected.
Some of these 20-year-olds function fine off of bug bars and cricket paste. That's impressive. Dude, I see some overweight people walking around in like skin-tight jeans, and then I start getting anxiety because I know what it would feel like to be that hot and compressed. So I feel bad for them. But they don't care. They don't care. They just thug it out. I don't understand it.
Actively spreading misinformation about COVID-19 treatments in a time when people were overall confused about the virus and the vaccine. And this was truly a canon event for Rogan, as he seemed to grow extremely salty about the major corporations that called him out.
Yeah, all these other people are rugged, and I'm just soft and pampered.
To this very day, he still won't shut up about COVID-19.
Yeah. And, you know, and it was pushed by these multimedia corporations, these huge news corporations. It was pushed by them. It was all nonsense and propaganda, including Rolling Stone.
Yeah, it's an aristocratic trait. That's right.
CNN, Rolling Stone had a whole article that was 100% bullshit about people who were waiting in line at the emergency room for gunshot wounds because there were so many people that were getting treated for horse dewormer because they took too much ivermectin.
Wow.
Total fabrication
Yeah.
with a stock photograph of people waiting in line in August in Oklahoma. This is supposed to be taking place.
Did you guys have temperature checks by you where they'd fucking point the laser gun at your head?
A stock photograph of people wearing winter coats outside in line because they're waiting for the fucking flu shot.
Yeah.
And so it's a lie. It's a lie. And so there's...
Didn't Palantir also track people that came into contact with the virus via Bluetooth, linking it to your phones? You guys know about that? Did you know that your Wi-Fi in your house can 3D map your entire living space?
This willingness to lie with no retractions on all the major television networks. Everybody was like pushing this one narrative, and everyone at home was locked down.
Yeah.
You couldn't go to work, you couldn't go to school, and everyone was terrified because this had never happened before. And we got to see how quickly people who are cowards just attacked.
Dude, there's a federal agent on the other end of this fucking Audio-Technica headset.
The others to try to keep themselves safe. It got very rat-like.
And look, whether Joe Rogan is right or wrong in this scenario,
I had to wear a mask while I'm 100 feet in the air climbing a tree. Yeah, you might give the birds.
I don't really care, because I, like most of Joe Rogan's general audience, couldn't care less about COVID-19 in the big 2025. Everyone's moved on already, except Joe Rogan, which is the point I'm trying to make here.
I still kind of care about it, I'll admit. Because I just wasn't expecting that in my life. I don't know. Maybe that's my optimist. I was just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I was waiting to become an adult, and then I just fucking monkey wrench whopping at my forehead.
He is a broken record now that more and more people are tuning out of. And I'm sure if you're watching this that...
I get how it can get old to some people, but I don't know. I'm still kind of crotchety and bitter about it.
You may have been a fan of the podcast at one point in time, because the show used to actually be genuinely good. It felt as if Joe felt as if he was lucky to be in the presence of some of his guests, and he would let the guest lead the convo, instead of the other way around. Joe also used to have the best guests on, as when he lived in Los Angeles, there was a plethora of cool people in town that could stop by the studio to talk with Joe while they were doing other promotional
Oh yes, cool people like Post Malone and Mike Tyson.
stuff for their careers. That simply cannot be found in Austin. And now when you scroll through Joe Rogan's recent podcast episodes, I'd bet that the general listener would have to Google search at least half of the people that Joe's talking to.
Not really. UFC fighter, CIA handler, comedian.
So Austin's not really skyrocketing. Instead, it's sort of stagnated now. And the comedians in his circle, aka the Rogan sphere, have openly criticized how shitty the city truly is. Like Tim Dillon, Mark Normand, Shane Gillis, and even Ari Shaffir have all come out on separate...
That's how I know that this guy's not in the trenches. Because if you listen to one Tim Dillon podcast, you'd think Joe Rogan was like a Bernie supporter still.
occasions to publicly trash Austin with seemingly zero remorse.
What is the most overrated city everyone loves to visit? I'm sitting in one of them right now, Austin, Texas. It is trash. It is classless. It's classless trash, everybody.
Stay hard. Gotta stay macro hard. You will never catch me being Microsoft.
It's not cool. Everyone's like, why don't you move to Austin? The comedy scene's huge here. I'm like, sure. The city itself is not cool. I'm not saying it has a lack of cool. I'm saying it's actively uncool.
Well, let me just say I went to Austin, and gotta tell you that Austin, I don't know how these...
You can care about things without mentioning it in every second sentence. I did know that factoid. Factoid's gotta be one of my top 5 words.
Well, these Gillises, or these Tyler Fish, or these Seguras, who must be Greek... How do they live there? I mean, it's that city is a boiling pot of evil goo.
Why does he sound like that? That's not a normal voice. The inflection always goes up. What do you call that? Any language experts? Oh yeah. Everything's a joke. Radio voice? But it's not even based like the transatlantic one. See?
Just circling a dish.
Texas is gay.
Whoa. Is that California coded? The Valley Girl accent? West Coast? Where's he from?
In LA. I'll say it.
Texas? Fair. That's fair.
Wait, why? I'm sure not
A
the
lot
rest
of
of the
guys
state.
showing off.
Austin is a gayer version of.
There is equally as many shirtless guys in Austin.
No,
as there is
I
down
haven't seen one shirtless guy here.
I hated every...
As someone in California, the way it's advertised is like the up-and-coming tech scene, like Silicon Valley 2.0. I feel like this has been known for years, though. I feel like the great exodus already happened. Most people move to Texas from California because of tax purposes. Once you reach a certain caliber, state income tax becomes very important.
When I met and all of the things that people were doing, I hated, and I didn't understand what was going. Everyone there was like, "This is the next city,"
right?
And I didn't get it. I didn't understand it.
So based, wearing a Sag Harbor hat, bro. Tim Dillon's on my same wavelength. And it's because he's from Long Island.
Lake is the color of sewage. These are the worst people. Austin is like if the Proud Boys and Antifa got married and had a city. Nothing works. And the food is atrocious. It's some of the worst food in America. You have to be like a drunk college pig to enjoy.
I've never been to Texas.
I've shit-talked Austin for 3 years. Not one human being has said, hey, you, man. Not one person has said that. Everyone kind of goes, yeah, I get it.
It just seems to me that Joe Rogan and his once universally loved podcast have, in fact, faceplanted.
I couldn't live in Texas. I don't care if you gave me Joe Rogan's compound. I couldn't do it. Because I need to be near water. Give me a coast.
It into rock bottom recently. But I guess we'll just have to see where things go for the rest.
Lakes are not going to cut it either. I need ocean.
To this year, as I heard rumors that the mothership will be expanding to New York City, which would be pretty interesting to see unfold. But with that being said, that is it for the video, guys. Thanks so much for watching.
I mean, what am I going to do? I'm going to push back.
Right. No,
I mean,
of course.
and
I
obviously,
understand. No, I don't want a Gulf. No. Give me the Atlantic or give me the Pacific. Who am I kidding? Just give me the Atlantic every single time. I'm not living on the West Coast. I'm not leaving the Northeast. My one memory of the Gulf of America was when I was in Key West and I jumped off a dock and I was met with the most visceral overstimulation I've ever got in my entire life when my legs planted into straight sea anemone slush slop and mud and silt went through my toes and gushed, and I got the heebie-jeebies from my toenails to my tip of my Johnson. And then I freaked the fuck out and never went back in the Gulf of America ever again.